TENSURAX Villainess by Rimu_High 1 Demon Lord in Villainess. Rimuru's POV. I was in my room, preparing for what Seal had described as a welcoming ceremony at the academy. Something about it didn't sit right with me. Knowing my luck, today wasn't going to be normal at all. Master, today you'll be introducing yourself to the other students. Let's try not to embarrass yourself in front of everyone, alright? Ciel's teasing voice echoed in my head. Yeah, I get it, I replied, rolling my eyes. I'm not going to embarrass myself, on purpose. I'll believe that when I see it. Just as I was about to shoot back, Serafina entered the room with a perfectly folded set of clothes in her hands. She moved with the grace of someone who knew exactly how to command attention, her presence impossible to ignore. Master, she said, her voice smooth and velvety. Here are your clothes, and she trailed off, holding up a sleek black hat. I suggest you use this to cover your hair. I raised an eyebrow. Why the hell do I have to hide my hair? What's wrong with it? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer, her sapphire eyes locking onto mine, her soft breath tickling my face. Her tone dropped to a whisper, low and seductive. You'll understand soon enough, Master, she murmured, her lips almost brushing against my cheek. My face turned red, and I froze for a moment. I cleared my throat, trying to regain my composure. All right, fine. Serafina took a step back, the faintest smirk tugging at her lips. Damn, she was good at this. Oh, and Master, she continued, her tone now light and casual as if she hadn't just tried to short-circuit my brain. You should also know that in this academy, the majority of girls aim to find someone for themselves. Someone for themselves. I repeated dumbly. She means a husband, Seal chimed in helpfully, her tone laced with amusement. Right. I said slowly, narrowing my eyes. So all I have to do is avoid getting roped into this whole husband nonsense, right? Serafina sighed, shaking her head as if I were some clueless child. Never mind, Master. Just focus on surviving your time in the academy. Surviving? I echoed, but she had already turned away, effectively ending the conversation. I shrugged and turned toward the door. Just as my hand reached the handle, I felt a sudden warmth on my cheek. It took me a second to process that Serafina had leaned in and kissed me, her lips lingering just long enough to leave me stunned. That was for good luck, she said with a perfectly straight face. Her calm demeanor only made it worse. My face felt like it was on fire. All right, thanks. In my head, Seal burst out laughing. Master, your reaction was priceless. You're as red as a tomato. Shut up, Seal, I muttered, trying to will away the heat in my cheeks. I left the room, the hat perched awkwardly on my head. I still didn't understand why I needed to hide my hair, but asking Seal would only ruin the mystery. And let's be honest, I wasn't ready for more teasing just yet. As I walked through the academy halls, I felt something faint but familiar in the air. It was subtle, like ripples of energy brushing against my senses. Hey, Seal, I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. Do I have elemental affinities in this world? Of course, Master, and? Would you like me to list them? Obviously. Very well. Master has an affinity for all major elements in this world. Water element, fire element, earth element, wind element, light element, dark element. Additionally, as a member of the Tempest and Nova families, Master has unique affinities for void element, holy element, demonic element. You can use all of these elements freely, Master. I sighed. Seal, are you trying to make me stand out even more? Isn't that what you're best at? She teased, her voice brimming with amusement. Besides, as my husband, you deserve only the best. Yeah, sure, I said, shaking my head. At this rate, I'm going to end up with a harem or something. You say that as if it's a bad thing. I chose to ignore that and focused on my surroundings instead. The energy in the air was growing stronger the closer I got to the grand hall. You really overdid it this time, Seal, I muttered under my breath. I take that as a compliment. Now, don't embarrass yourself during the ceremony, all right? Sure, I said with a sigh. Let's see what kind of mess this academy has waiting for me. With that, I enter Grand Hall, bracing myself for whatever chaos lay ahead. Humilia's POV. I was in my room with my ever-dedicated maid, Lysandra. She was helping me into my new academy uniform, a complicated mess of straps, buttons, and layers. Seriously, who designed this? It's almost like they didn't expect anyone to wear it without help. Lysandra, I said with a sigh, why is this uniform so ridiculous? She smiled softly as she adjusted the ribbons on my sleeves. Because, my lady, the academy is full of traditions. The uniform reflects that. I rolled my eyes. More like it reflects their love for torturing students before they even set foot in class. Lysandra chuckled. Perhaps, young lady, but you'll manage. Today was the day of the welcome ceremony for the prestigious academy. If my knowledge of the game this world is based on was right, this was the event where the so-called Villainess meets the heroine for the first time. In the bad ending. Well, Humilia me dies early on. I took a deep breath. That wasn't going to happen. I had too much control over my life and my dark magic for anything like that to unfold. Still, no matter how confident I felt, there was a nervous flutter in my chest at the thought of all the events waiting for me, including today's. It's finished, my lady, Lysandra said, stepping back to admire her handiwork. Please, look in the mirror. I nodded and walked over to the mirror, staring at my reflection. To my surprise, the uniform didn't look half bad. It had a regal, fantasy-like elegance to it that suited the academy's aesthetic. You look beautiful, Lady Humilia, Lysandra said with pride. Thank you, I replied with a small smile. But, she added with a note of warning, if you linger here too long, you'll be late for the ceremony. I sighed. Right. Heading toward the door, I turned back to Lysandra. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Her expression didn't change, her lips pressing into a thin line. That makes me worry even more, my lady. Don't be like that, Lysandra. I'll see you later, I said, waving her off before stepping into the corridor. As I walked toward the main hall where the ceremony would take place, I silently reminded myself of my plan. Remember, Humilia, avoid the bad events. Stay away from the heroine, and for the love of everything, steer clear of the male love interests. Just live a normal school life. The halls of the academy were grand, every corner exuding wealth and prestige. But as I turned a corner, something caught my eye. A woman who looked every bit like she had stepped out of a painting. Her rich blue hair cascaded down her back, and her golden eyes shimmered with intelligence and authority. Her figure was, for lack of a better word, perfect, elegant yet impossibly alluring. She was dressed in a pristine maid uniform, but her presence screamed more than just a mere servant. When she saw me, her gaze softened, and she called out, "Young lady, if I may." Curious, I nodded and approached her. "What is your name?" she asked, her voice calm yet commanding. "I am Humilia Dolkness," I replied. Her lack of fear or disdain toward me was surprising. Most people either avoided me or whispered behind my back. "I see," she said with a polite bow. "I am Serafina, maid to the Tempest family. It's a pleasure to meet you. But, if I may ask, why do you not cover your hair? You may give others the wrong impression." I blinked at her, confused by the suggestion. "Don't worry, I'm perfectly fine as I am." Serafina sighed softly, as though she didn't quite believe me. "Well, it is your choice, after all. Please, go on your way. I apologize for stopping you." She gave a small bow of respect. "It's all right," I said with a nod, continuing toward the hall. As I walked, I found myself thinking about Serafina. She seemed different from any maid I had ever met. There was an air of mystery about her, and I couldn't help but wonder what kind of person her master or mistress might be. If I have the chance, I'd like to meet them someday, I thought as I stepped into the grand hall where the welcome ceremony was about to begin. The moment I entered the grand hall, I immediately spotted three familiar figures standing near the center of the room. Edwin, William, and Oswald, the three most prominent love interests in the game. Edwin, with his silver hair and piercing blue eyes, exuded the calm confidence of a perfect prince. William, the fiery red-haired knight, had an energy about him that was impossible to ignore. And finally, Oswald, the dark and brooding mage, leaned against the wall, looking like he couldn't care less about being here. They were exactly as I remembered from the game, charming and magnetic, each in their own way. But I had no intention of getting involved with any of them. So, I did what any sane person would do. I ignored them completely and headed for my assigned seat. As I weaved through the crowd, someone bumped into me from behind. Startled, I turned around to apologize. "Oh, I'm sorry," I started, but then I saw who it was. The heroine. She was a petite girl with soft brown hair and innocent doe-like eyes, looking up at me with a mix of panic and guilt. "I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, sorry," she stammered, bowing repeatedly as though the world might end if she didn't apologize enough. I sighed, a little exasperated. "All right, that's enough already." She froze mid-bow and hesitated. Is it really all right?" "Yes, it's fine. Just be careful next time," I said, waving it off as I walked away. But as I glanced back at her, I noticed her trembling slightly when I said it was all right. Well, of course, I thought. She's the heroine, after all. Overreacting is basically part of her personality. Ignoring the odd encounter, I finally reached my seat, only to realize it was in the very front row. "Why?" I muttered under my breath, sighing as I sat down. "Why'd I have to sit in the front?" 4 minutes later, an elderly man in ornate robes entered the hall, followed by a striking young woman carrying a glowing crystal. She placed it carefully on a table on the stage before stepping back. The old man, clearly the principal, stepped forward and began his speech. "Good morning to you all. Welcome to prestigious academy. I hope everyone is excited to spend the next few years forging new friendships, mastering spells, honing your swordsmanship, and discovering the depths of your abilities." He paused, looking out over the crowd, his gaze seeming to linger on certain individuals including me. "I won't make this speech too long," he continued with a chuckle, "but I do want to say this. You all belong here. This academy is a place of growth, challenge, and opportunity. Seize it with both hands. And finally," he smiled warmly, "welcome to prestigious academy." The hall erupted into applause, with students cheering and clapping enthusiastically. I clapped politely, but inwardly, I sighed. This is just the beginning. I need to stay under the radar and avoid anything that could lead to the bad ending. As the applause died down, the young woman who had accompanied the principal stepped forward. "Next," she said with a confident yet gentle voice, "we'll be asking our esteemed students to introduce themselves. When your name is called, please step forward and share a little about yourself." My stomach dropped. Oh no, of course this was going to happen. The principal continued, his voice calm and reassuring. "When you introduce yourself, we'll also check your level. And don't feel embarrassed if your level is low, being level 1 is perfectly normal. After all, this is just the beginning of your journey." I sighed, resting my chin on my hand. What could my level even be? Level 5, maybe. Or, if I'm lucky, level 10. But then, a memory struck me 2 years ago. I had taken down a dark knight and a dead dragon. Both were known as ridiculously strong monsters. I scoffed at myself. "Oh, come on, Humilia, don't be ridiculous. A level 10 couldn't possibly defeat 2 monsters like that without breaking a sweat." The thought of it was so absurd I almost laughed, but I quickly snapped back to reality when the young woman beside the principal stepped forward, holding the crystal ball that was apparently meant to measure levels. "I'll be calling your names in order," she announced, her voice clear and firm. "When you hear your name, please come up to the stage, introduce yourself, and place your hand on the crystal for your level evaluation." The hall fell silent. The first name called was Edwin Valshine. Of course, I thought with mild annoyance. He's the first one called. How predictable. Edwin strode to the stage, his every step calculated and confident. When he reached the podium, he introduced himself, his princely charm in full effect. "I am Edwin Valshine, second prince of the Valshine Kingdom. I hope to uphold my family's honor here and learn alongside all of you." The audience was captivated. Then the young woman gestured to the crystal. "Please place your hand here." Edwin complied, and the crystal glowed softly. She examined the reading and announced, "Level 5, congratulations." The room erupted in cheers, but I didn't bother clapping. What's there to cheer about? Level 5 is average. Next was Oswald Grimsarde. "Oh great, the great mage is next," I thought sarcastically. What are the odds the game's second love interest gets called right after the first? Oswald, ever the mysterious one, walked up to the stage with an air of aloofness. "Oswald Grimsard, heir to the Grimsard family. My goal is to master magic and surpass my predecessors." He placed his hand on the crystal. This time, it glowed brighter than it had for Edwin. "Level 6. Congratulations. the young woman said. Again, the room cheered, though it was noticeably louder than before. Oswald smirked smugly as he returned to his seat. I rolled my eyes. Why does he act like he's the pinnacle of perfection? Then the dreaded name was called. William Arias. Yup, I muttered under my breath, I'm definitely going to bed early tonight. William, the fiery knight, marched to the stage with an infectious energy. I'm William Arias, captain of the Royal Knights Youth Division. I aim to train harder and become the strongest knight in the kingdom. He placed his hand on the crystal, and the glow was nearly blinding. Level 15. Congratulations. The hall erupted into the loudest cheer yet. William's grin grew wider as he flexed his arm, basking in the attention. Oh, please. A level 15. He's not that impressive. Then came the name everyone had been waiting for. Alicia Hinlate. The heroine shyly approached the stage, her posture radiating nervousness. She introduced herself softly, almost stumbling over her words. My name is Alicia Hinlate. I'm just a commoner, but I hope to study hard and make friends with everyone here. There was a noticeable ripple of discontent among some students. After all, a commoner being here was almost unheard of. Still, Alicia pressed forward, placing her hand on the crystal. Level 3. Congratulations, the woman said. Before the crowd could react, the principal stepped forward. This young lady, Alicia, also possesses the rare light element, making her the only one in the kingdom with such an affinity. That caught everyone's attention. Whispers of intrigue filled the room, and the applause, though hesitant, eventually came. I, of course, didn't join in. Light element or not, she's still the heroine. And I'm still not interested. Then it happened. Humilia Dolkness. The hall fell completely silent. I felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on me as I sighed and stood up. The whispers began immediately. Isn't she the one with black hair? She's supposed to be the demon lord's descendant, right? What is she doing here? I ignored them all and walked to the stage with practiced grace, forcing myself to stay calm. Once there, I turned to the crowd and introduced myself, sticking to what was in the game. I am Humilia Dolkness. My family has long served the kingdom, and I hope to use my time here to better myself. The room was dead quiet. The young woman gestured to the crystal. Please place your hand here, Lady Humilia. Here goes nothing, I thought, placing my hand on the smooth surface of the crystal. At first, nothing happened. Then, a blinding golden light erupted from it, filling the entire hall. The young woman froze, staring at the crystal in shock. She quickly turned to the principal, who hurried over to see for himself. His eyes widened, and he muttered something under his breath before looking at me. Excuse me, I asked, my voice calm despite my growing unease, but what is my level? The young woman finally spoke, her voice trembling. Your level is level 99. See, congratulations. The room exploded. What? She's a monster. Level 99. That's impossible. Completely fake. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. Well, there goes my normal life. Nice knowing you. The uproar in the hall grew louder with each passing second. Several students stood up, their faces red with anger or disbelief. This is rigged, one shouted. There's no way someone can be level 99. She's cheating, yelled another. She must have tampered with the crystal somehow. A third joined in, pointing a finger at me. She's got black hair. She's a demon or something. That has to explain it. I rolled my eyes but stayed silent, watching as the chaos unfolded. The principal raised his hand, his voice booming over the noise. Silence. The room immediately quieted, though murmurs of dissent still lingered. If you doubt the results, we shall verify them using a new crystal ball. The young woman nodded and hurried off the stage, returning moments later with not one but two new crystal balls. She placed them carefully on the table. To ensure there is no error, the principal announced, we will use these fresh, untampered crystal balls. Lady Humilia, please step forward. I sighed inwardly but complied, stepping toward the first crystal. The young woman gestured for me to place my hand on it. Whenever you're ready, she said, her voice quieter than before but laced with curiosity. I placed my hand on the crystal ball, and just like before, it glowed brightly, illuminating the entire hall. The young woman checked the reading, her eyes widening. Level 99. she announced, her voice trembling again. The crowd erupted into chaos once more. No way. This has to be a trick. Check the other one. The principal held up a hand again, silencing the room. Let us try the second crystal. I moved to the second crystal ball, placing my hand on it. This time, the glow was even more radiant, filling the hall with a golden hue. The young woman stared at the reading in disbelief, then turned to the principal. It's still level 99, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The hall fell into stunned silence, save for a few muttered curses. The principal looked at me, his expression a mix of awe and curiosity. Lady Humilia, do you believe this is truly your level? I turned to him, my face calm but firm. Absolutely, I said without hesitation. This is my real level. I can't lie about it, can I? It's not like I have control over how the crystal works. The murmurs started again, though quieter this time. But how? One student whispered. She must have done something, another hissed. Rimuru's pav. The moment I stepped into the grand hall of prestigious academy, I immediately felt the stifling air of formality. Hundreds of students filled the massive room, all sitting with eager anticipation or dread. I sat somewhere inconspicuous, near the middle rows, observing the scene unfold. Well, I muttered to myself, this looks familiar. The principal, an elderly man wearing flowing robes, entered the stage with a young woman carrying a glowing crystal ball. The crystal seemed to hum faintly with magical energy, something I easily noticed thanks to my sharpened senses. The principal cleared his throat, beginning his speech. Good morning to you all. Welcome to Prestigious Academy. I hope everyone is excited to spend the next few years forging new friendships, mastering spells, honing your swordsmanship, and discovering the depths of your abilities. The speech was what I'd expect, encouraging words, sprinkled with a dose of formal expectation. My gaze roamed over the crowd as he spoke, catching snippets of whispered conversations. A few faces stood out, mainly those dripping with arrogance or importance. Great, more of those kinds of students. The principal wrapped up his speech, earning enthusiastic cheers from the audience. I clapped along, more out of politeness than excitement. Then the young woman stepped forward, introducing the process for level measurement. We'll be asking our esteemed students to introduce themselves. When your name is called, please step forward and share a little about yourself. Afterward, place your hand on this crystal for your level evaluation. Ah, so this was that kind of ceremony. I smirked to myself, knowing exactly how nerve-wracking this could be for some students. I leaned back in my chair, deciding to enjoy the show. The first name called was Edwin Valshine. A blonde, princely-looking boy stood up, exuding charisma as he walked to the stage. He introduced himself confidently, boasting his royal lineage. I am Edwin Valshine, second prince of the Valshine kingdom. I hope to uphold my family's honor here and learn alongside all of you. He placed his hand on the crystal, which glowed faintly. Level 5. Congratulations, announced the young woman. The hall filled with cheers, but I didn't miss the forced smiles on some of the more competitive faces. The next name was Oswald Grimsarde. He introduced himself with a cool demeanor. Oswald Grimsarde, heir to the Grimsarde family. My goal is to master magic and surpass my predecessors. When he placed his hand on the crystal, the glow was slightly brighter than Edwin's. Level 6. Congratulations. I chuckled softly. Ah, the classic competitive rivalry, I muttered. Then came William Arias. The fiery knight marched to the stage, introducing himself with overflowing confidence. I'm William Arias, captain of the Royal Knights Youth Division. I aim to train harder and become the strongest knight in the kingdom. The crystal's glow was almost blinding. Level 15. Congratulations. The hall erupted in cheers, and I raised an eyebrow. Level 15, huh, impressive for his age. But the noise died when the next name was called. Alicia Ehinlate. A timid girl with blonde hair shyly walked to the stage. She introduced herself softly, almost stumbling over her words. My name is Alicia Ehinlate. I'm just a commoner, but I hope to study hard and make friends with everyone here. The atmosphere changed as whispers rippled through the room. A commoner. What is she even doing here? When she placed her hand on the crystal, it glowed faintly. Level 3. Congratulations. The whispers grew louder until the principal stepped forward. This young lady, Alicia, possesses the rare light element, making her the only one in the kingdom with such an affinity. The announcement silenced the murmurs, and hesitant applause followed. And then, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Humilia Dolkness. The room fell into an almost eerie silence. I perked up at the name, noting the sudden tension. A girl with flowing black hair stood, walking to the stage with a calm, almost calculated grace. Whispers began spreading. She's the one with black hair, right? Isn't she rumored to be a descendant of the Demon Lord? What is she doing here? I frowned, leaning toward the student next to me. Hey, what's this about a Demon Lord? The boy gave me a wary glance. You didn't know. Humilia Dolkness is said to be descended from an ancient Demon Lord. People say she's dangerous, cursed even. That black hair of hers is proof. I leaned back, intrigued. So that's how it is. This world still clings to superstitions like that. Humilia stepped onto the stage, introducing herself with poise. I am Humilia Dolkness. My family has long served the kingdom, and I hope to use my time here to better myself. There was no applause, only a tense silence. The young woman gestured to the crystal. Please place your hand here, Lady Humilia. Humilia sighed and placed her hand on the crystal. At first, nothing happened. Then, a blinding golden light erupted, filling the entire hall. The young woman froze. Level 99, she stammered, her voice trembling. The hall erupted into chaos. What? That's impossible. She's cheating. She must have tampered with the crystal. The principal quickly intervened, ordering for another crystal. The young woman returned moments later with 2 fresh crystals. Humilia calmly placed her hand on both, and each time, the result was the same. Level 99, the woman confirmed again. The murmurs grew more frantic. There's no way. She's just a student. She's the Demon Lord. That explains it. I watched the scene unfold, rubbing my temples. Seal, give me a rundown of Humilia's actual power. Ciel's voice echoed in my mind. Humilia Dolkness's power level is equivalent to that of Velzard, the White Ice Dragon. I nearly choked. Velzard level. Are you serious? Ciel continued. Her potential for both combat and magic is extraordinary. However, it seems she's unaware of her own strength. Well, this just got interesting. The tension in the hall had reached a boiling point after Humilia's absurd level 99 reveal. Whispers buzzed like angry bees, students glaring at her with suspicion, jealousy, and outright hostility. I could feel her discomfort even from my seat, but she handled herself well, keeping her expression cool and collected. I leaned back, smirking. Ciel, this is turning into quite the show. What do you think? Master, I believe you are enjoying this far too much. I can't help it. You know, you told me not to embarrass myself, but. I paused, glancing at the growing tension in the crowd. What if I did make myself the Demon Lord? Ciel's voice carried an amused tone. Master, are you trying to show off? Not quite. I just want to have some fun. Imagine their reactions. Ciel paused briefly before replying, her tone now mirroring my own mischief. That would indeed be entertaining. Shall we begin the drama, then? I grinned, straightening my posture. Ready when you are, Ciel. Just as the crowd was beginning to settle, the mood took a dark turn. A male student abruptly stood up, pointing angrily at Humilia. Go to hell, he snarled, his voice dripping with malice. Before anyone could react, he hurled a dagger at her with alarming speed. Without thinking, I teleported directly in front of Humilia, catching the dagger between 2 fingers with effortless precision. The sharp clang of metal against my fingers echoed in the stunned silence. I let the dagger dangle for a moment, my long black hair flowing dramatically as I turned to face the crowd. My hair, darker than even Humilia's, shimmered like polished obsidian under the light. It was longer, cascading down my back, with stray strands partially obscuring one of my golden, glowing eyes. Gasps filled the hall. Who is that? Is his hair darker than Humilia's? Look at those eyes. He's terrifying. I flicked the dagger into the air, caught it lazily, and ignited it with white flames. It disintegrated instantly, leaving behind nothing but ash that scattered to the floor. What's the meaning of this? I said coldly, my voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge. Does no one think before acting? The students recoiled at my words, the sheer weight of my presence pressing down on them like a storm. Turning to Humilia, I asked, "Are you all right?" She gave me a measured nod, her voice cool. "I don't need help, but, thanks." I smiled lightly, stepping back. "Good to hear." Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence. "Who are you?" All eyes turned to William, the fiery knight, who stood from his seat, pointing at me. "Another demon lord, or what?" I shifted my gaze to him, golden eyes gleaming. The room seemed to grow colder despite the heat of their fear. "Not another demon lord," I said, smirking. "The demon lord. Nice to meet you all." A wave of confusion washed over the crowd. Whispers turned into frantic murmurs as students struggled to comprehend my words. "Is he serious? The demon lord. Is he joking?" The young woman beside the principal, who had been holding the crystal, finally spoke up. "You're a new student at this academy, correct?" I nodded, flashing her an easy smile. "Yes. Please check your list. You'll find I'm next, right after Lady Humilia." She hesitated, flipping through her notes. Her face paled when she found my name. She immediately stepped back and bowed deeply. "My apologies, Lord Rimuru," she stammered, her voice trembling. I didn't realize. Her reaction made the room even more chaotic. Students gawked, their confusion morphing into something darker: resentment. I sighed internally, glancing at Humilia. She looked puzzled, her sharp eyes narrowing slightly as she studied me. "Seal," I muttered silently, "why is she panicking like that?" "It's because the Tempest family is known as the strongest noble family, second only to the royal family in noble power. While officially ranked as noble, your lineage commands immense respect and fear." I groaned mentally. "Seal, what in the world are you doing? How can I live a normal life like this?" Ciel's tone was practically gleeful. "Thank you, Master." That wasn't a compliment. I snapped in my mind. Taking a calming breath, I turned to the young woman. "Don't worry about it," I said gently, motioning for her to relax. She nodded nervously. Thank you, my lord. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?" I sighed dramatically, turning to face the crowd. Time to put on a show. "Greetings, everyone. My name is Rimuru Tempest, the sole remaining member of the Tempest noble family." I let the words hang in the air before adding, "You might know me by my other title, the Dragon Prince." Gasps echoed across the hall. I could see the flicker of recognition in some students' eyes, followed by something darker: hatred. "And," I continued, flashing a sharp smile, "if anyone here is claiming to be the Demon Lord, let me make this clear: it's me." The hall erupted into chaos. "You've got to be kidding. A Demon Lord in our academy? What's next? A dragon joining the student council?" The young woman, now visibly shaking, stepped forward again. "Lord Rimuru, may I ask? Please place your hand on one of the crystals for your level evaluation." The room fell deathly silent, every eye on me as I walked to the table. I placed my hand on the crystal. The moment I touched it, the crystal erupted in a swirl of pure black and purple energy, shadows and light intertwining in an ominous display. The oppressive aura filled the room, making it hard for anyone to breathe. When the crystal finally settled, its numbers glowed vividly. Level 100. The young woman staggered, nearly fainting. "Why, your level is level 100, she stuttered, her voice barely audible. The crowd descended into chaos once more, this time in complete disbelief. "Level 100. That's impossible. He's stronger than Humilia. How can anyone be level 100? I tilted my head, watching the panic with mild amusement. "Seal," I muttered, "this is getting ridiculous." "Master, it's exactly as you planned." I smirked, looking out at the sea of faces. "Well, this is going to be fun at last." 3 person POV. The atmosphere in the grand hall was a volatile mix of emotions as the students reacted to the shocking events that had just unfolded. Rimuru's dramatic reveal as the supposed Demon Lord, and his level 100 status had thrown the academy into chaos. Clusters of students gathered in hushed groups, their eyes darting between Rimuru and Humilia. "They look alike, don't they?" One student whispered, his tone laced with suspicion. "Yeah," another agreed. "The hair, the aura, it's too similar to be a coincidence." "Could they be related?" "That's impossible," another interjected, shaking his head. "Humilia's from the Dolkness family. This Rimuru guy from the Tempest family, there's no record of those two related. Still, don't you think it's strange? Two people with black hair, insanely high levels, and this overwhelming presence. Something's not adding up. Humilia, still on the stage, glanced sideways at Rimuru, her brows furrowed in thought. Who is he? Why does he feel so familiar? He wasn't in the game. Is he an anomaly? Further back in the hall, some students were visibly shaken. Did you see how he caught that dagger? One muttered, his voice trembling. And his level? Level 100. No one's ever reached that. Does this mean he could destroy the academy if he wanted to? Another student chimed in, his voice barely above a whisper. What if he's here to take over? Demon lords don't just stroll into academies for fun. A girl beside him shuddered. What if he's already plotting something? I don't trust him. In stark contrast, some students were consumed by anger and jealousy. A group of burly boys, likely aspiring knights, clenched their fists as they glared at Rimuru. Who does he think he is, walking in here like he owns the place? One growled. He's just trying to show off. Another sneered. We should teach him a lesson, the leader of the group said, his voice dripping with malice. Doesn't matter if he's level 100. We'll take him down and show him where he belongs. The group nodded in agreement, their resentment festering as they continued to watch Rimuru with open hostility. Among the more notable students, Edwin Valshine, William Arias, and Oswald Grimsard were seething. Black hair, William spat, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. It's always the black-haired ones. They're cursed. It's in their blood. Edwin nodded, his expression dark. A demon lord and his kin. That's the only explanation. Humilia's a problem, but this Rimuru, he's a threat to everything. Oswald sneered, his voice cold. And he has the nerve to flaunt his power. Let's see how long that arrogance lasts. Their mutual disdain for Rimuru was palpable, their hatred fueled by a combination of prejudice and envy at his overwhelming power. Meanwhile, Alicia sat quietly, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. She had been trained to sense the essence of people, and what she felt from Rimuru left her deeply unsettled. Humilia feels dark. Like she's cloaked in shadows, Alicia thought, her gaze flickering to the girl on the stage. But Rimuru, he's different. He's both dark and light. How can someone who calls himself a demon lord radiate such balance? Her eyes narrowed in thought. Who is he really? And why does he feel so paradoxical? Amid the tension, a majority of the female students were captivated by Rimuru's mysterious allure. Did you see how he caught that dagger? It was so effortless. And his hair, it's so long and silky. Not to mention those glowing golden eyes. He's absolutely stunning. One girl sighed dreamily. I don't care if he's a demon lord. He could destroy the academy, and I'd still thank him. Another nodded enthusiastically. Same. Who cares about levels or titles? He's perfect. Their infatuation was obvious, and it spread rapidly among the female students, leaving a trail of blushes and wistful sighs in its wake. On the stage, Rimuru stood tall, a faint smirk tugging at his lips as he observed the chaos he had caused. The reactions were predictable yet amusing. Ah, humanity, Rimuru mused. Such a delightful mix of fear, hatred, and adoration. Humilia, beside him, crossed her arms, her expression skeptical. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She muttered. Rimuru glanced at her, his smirk widening. What gave me away?